Welcome to Bluebonnet News Headlines and Heartlines, where we bring you the stories shaping Texas, from policy and progress to the people behind the headlines. I'm your host, Vanessa Brazier, owner and publisher of Bluebonnet News of Texas. Today, I am joined by a man who knows Texas like the back of his hand, Representative Trent Ashby. He served in the Texas House since 2013, representing Angelina, Houston, Polk, San Augustine, Trinity, and Tyler counties. Did I get them all?
You got them all.
Whew. Trent currently serves on the House Committees on Natural Resources and Public Education, and he's chair of the Subcommittee of Academic and Career-Oriented Education. He's also a proud Texas A&M Aggie, community leader, yeah, I heard that, and senior vice president of Vera Bank. Representative Ashby, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. I'm delighted to be with you here on Bluebonnet News today.
Thank you. You grew up on a dairy farm in Rusk County. That's what I heard, and you've often spoke about your rural roots. How has that upbringing shaped your approach to representing East Texas families and communities?
Well, my upbringing defines who I am as a person. Of course, like you said, I did grow up on a dairy farm, and for those that aren't familiar with dairy farms, it is a twice a day, milk the cows, 365 days a year, no vacation. And so it instilled in me a strong work ethic, recognizing that you never really experience success without putting in the effort and the hard work it takes to get there. And so I'm a firm believer in work and the other values that my parents instilled in me besides a strong work ethic was my dad was a deacon in our little local church. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. And so I was in church on Sunday mornings, Sunday nights, and even Wednesday nights.
Yes.
And when I wasn't in church, I was doing 4-H and FFA. And, of course, Friday nights I was watching, the local football games. And so for me, that really defines who I am. And I think it defines largely Southeast and East Texas that are part of Senate District 3. I tell people, first and foremost, my faith guides me. I think that for me, my Christian conservative values really drive not only who I am as a person, but importantly, to your question, really it drives my decisions in terms of voting on policy and being a productive member of the legislature. So I'm really proud of my upbringing here in this region of the state, and it really has made me a more effective legislator.
So as growing up on a dairy farm, did you actually have to do the milking of the cows?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, sure. We milked at 4 and 4. So,
oh, gosh. That's rough.
When I was old enough to buy my own truck, when I was almost 16, my dad made me get up and milk twice a week from 4 to 6:30 to pay for the gas that I would take out of the gas tank to get myself to town to go to school. So, yes, I actually did milk cows myself.
That was a good education, though, for you, making you earn your keep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of kids don't get that these days.
That's right.
You've been recognized by your peers as both Freshman of the Year and Most Valuable Sophomore. That's quite an honor. What do you think helped you earn that level of respect early in your legislative career?
I think it has everything to do with how I was raised. One thing that people know is that the most important thing that you have is your word. And that's in your work, in your business, amongst your family, friends. And so I take my word very seriously as a member of the Texas legislature. And so what I have always tried to do during my tenure in Austin is to make sure that I am committed to following through when I give my word. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that will break their word. And so I think that has had a lot to do with my ability to work well with both sides of the aisle, my colleagues.
You also led the Lufkin Board of Trustees before joining the legislature. How did that local experience prepare you for the challenges of your leadership?
It was an incredible experience for me to serve as a local elected official before I was elected to the Texas House. It taught me how to work well with others. It taught me that you never get everything you want, but that doesn't mean you don't fight for it. And it gave me a greater sense of community. And certainly it had a very strong impact on my belief in just the importance of our education system, making sure that we have an education system recognizing that every school is different, right? Every school board is different, every member. But recognizing that no matter where you live, that education should always be a top priority for the legislature. Because as I've often said, if we don't get education right in the state of Texas, nothing really else matters.
That's correct. I agree with that. Well, let's talk about one of East Texas's most precious resources, water. Is that a good one for you?
Absolutely.
What do you see as the biggest challenges we face when it comes to water protection? I think we're worried about some of our water being sent to other places.
No doubt. Yeah, that if I had to list the top three issues, even top two, that's going to be one of the top two that I hear about both in my current House district and across these 18 counties in Senate District 3. Texas is growing at, I saw yesterday, over 1,500 people a day. This is lawful migration, okay? These people that are moving to our state, they don't bring a drop of water with them when they move here. And so increasingly our metropolitan areas of the state are looking to the rural areas as potential sources of new water. And as a resident of rural Texas, as a defender of rural interest, there's really a lot of issues that we, of course, are fighting for, but water is right there in that category. Right now, in a little further north of Liberty County, there's an incident where there is a billionaire investor who has gone in and bought up thousands of acres of land with the goal of shipping groundwater out of our region of the state to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Because it's drier there.
Because it's drier there.
I'm feeling pretty dry myself today. I keep coughing. I'm so sorry.
And so we've got to make sure that we have our elected officials in Austin. They're going to fight to protect our water in Southeast and East Texas, to make sure that that resource that God has given us here in our beautiful part of the state is used for our advantage, for our residents. And yes, that's going to mean growth, because people, obviously, businesses, job creation, people want to move to where our water resources is. And I have yet to have a single person come to me in Southeast or East Texas and say, Trent, we need to be moving water out of our region. It's absolutely the opposite.
Is there any law that will prevent that from happening?
So on the surface water side, there are laws in place that specifically junior water rights and the prohibition against interbasin transfers. But as it pertains to groundwater, we really don't have a lot of protection. And what we're finding out with the current water fight that I'm in the middle of, again, north of us, is that even with the groundwater conservation district, their powers are very limited in stopping this exportation of groundwater outside of their district. And so next session, as I have said time and time again, modernizing our groundwater laws to strengthen our hand here in Southeast Texas is going to be a top priority of mine.
Do you remember the late State Representative John Otto?
I do, absolutely. Was proud to serve with him.
John Otto was one that was saying water is going to be the big one. Water's going. He would always say that, y'all, you got to protect the water.
It is. And he was exactly right.
Yeah, and that was 20-something years ago, and it's still a concern now. I guess you're working toward protecting it, but he was really concerned about it back then.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of work to do, I would say, from our regional delegation, both in the House and, of course, hopefully as the next state senator, to make sure that we are doing all we can to protect this precious natural resource for the benefit of our region, our constituents, and our future.
Yeah, because I know Midland doesn't get a lot of rain, so they need water. But, you know, I can't see sending East Texas water to Midland. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, and there's so many with the development of new technologies in the area of water in terms of desalination of brackish water, of seawater, brackish groundwater, which we have a lot of in this state. And then, of course, with aquifer storage and recovery, where you take water and you pump it in the ground until it gets dry and then you pump it back out. There's a lot of ways that we as a state can help these thirsty communities
get what they need
without stealing our water.
Yeah, I think we're on where I live. We're on the Angelina aquifer. I think that's the one, because we've looked into putting a water well in. But there's always a balance between the private water rights and regional conservation needs. But how do you think Texas will protect the landowner and the resource?
Yeah, so the protection of private property rights is a fundamental, almost sacred right that we have in really rural Texas.
Yeah.
As a member of the House since 2013, I'm proud of my track record of standing, as we say in our region, timber tall for that right.
Oh, I like that.
Timber tall for our private property rights. And I've, been blessed to be recognized with a number of different recognitions and awards for standing for private property rights. So that has to be in the mix as we talk about protecting our water, is also making sure, because right now, as far as groundwater goes, you own the groundwater as a landowner. Mm-hmm. You own the groundwater beneath your land.
Yeah.
And while...
Even if it's 250 feet down.
Even if it's 250 feet down.
Yeah.
That's right. So we just want to make sure that we are protecting that private property right as we move forward in this discussion.
But with the guy that bought the big area of land, he owns the water underneath him.
That's right.
He could tap into an aquifer and drain it, and it would affect everybody in his area.
And that's what his plan would do. It would drain every drop of what, as the state recognizes, we call it the modeled available groundwater.
But that impacts too many people.
Exactly. And when we created, so this law that you and I are talking about is called the rule of capture beneath your land. That was created in 1904. And it's something that we've been proud of in the state since then. But now with this particular project that's on the books, it's got a lot of people rethinking, maybe it's time to modernize that rule of capture like we did a long time ago with oil and gas and mineral. And
so look at water as a mineral?
Well,
or as like the same like mineral rights?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. When we, back in I can't remember if it was the 50s or the 60s, but when we started looking at separating surface versus mineral, and then of course looking at reserving the mineral rights for those that had it, not necessarily the surface owner. There are people, and I'm not saying I'm in this camp, I'm saying it's going to be part of the discussion, is how do we square this conundrum with people that have bought property to sell groundwater with their right, but at the same time not draining the aquifer, the groundwater, for the people that actually live there and that benefit from that right that is beneath their land. And so that is where really the crux of this issue is going to come to a head next session, is trying to determine where we land on that spectrum between those two.
Yeah, you don't want people to stop drilling water wells for their homes and properties or businesses, but you just don't want someone tapping into it and making it a commercial thing and then draining all the water that impacts everybody else.
Especially when in that situation, it's for the benefit of people not even in that county or that region.
Right. Yeah, that would be a problem. Let's move on to natural resources. Is that okay?
Sure.
You've served on committees that touch on natural resources, tourism, and recreation, which are all vital to our region. How can Texas grow economically while preserving the natural beauty that makes East Texas what it is?
Absolutely. Well, for most of the counties in Senate District 3, including Liberty County, forestry is a huge part of our local and our regional economy. I'm a private. It
always has been.
I'm a private forest landowner myself. You
Yeah.
know, I invest in timber for income, and so I think we've got to make sure that we have a state senator and, of course, our state officials that recognize the importance of our natural resources, and in this case, forestry specific, and recognizing, one, the jobs that are created, and two, the local economic impact and regional economic impact that it has for our area of the state. And, I've been blessed. Some would say, Trent, you drew the short straw. I would say that I've been blessed that I represent the Texas Forestry Association in my hometown, where their state office is in Lufkin. And ever since I've been elected to the Texas House, I've always carried their water or toted their wood in terms of their legislative package, whether it's helping fight for our loggers, whether it's helping make sure that we have prescribed burners that have access to insurance so they can continue to do prescribed burns, or just helping our private non-industrial forest private landowners. I take my job very seriously when it comes to protecting our natural resources here in Southeast Texas.
Thankfully, trees are a renewable source, but they still have to be protected.
That's right.
And managed, properly. So, coming from an agricultural background, how do you see the future of farming and ranching? That's something that's slowly changing. We're becoming more of an industrial area here, particularly in Liberty County, but part of your territory still is very much
Very rural.
rural ranching. And So how do you see that when it comes to balancing productivity with conservation?
Yeah, so, I would say this, as long as people want to eat, we're going to have a vibrant agricultural sector.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in this country, but really importantly in the state of Texas. Texas leads the country in so many of our agricultural commodities, right? Right now, of course, cattle prices they're not at an all-time high, but they're getting pretty close. And so, of course, that's reflected at our beef prices, right? But it's important to make sure that we recognize that we as Texans, we don't want to rely on other states and, more importantly, other countries for our food and our fiber and our fuel, right? I mean, rural Texas is what fuels our economy, our state economy, our food, our fiber, our fuel. And so people could not survive without the rural parts of the state and what we bring to the table. And so for me, I look at our agricultural economy really as national security. Because if we're not protecting our food supply, we're in trouble.
Yeah, because we don't know what they're going to be putting
Exactly.
in.
Exactly. So
hormones is the least important of all of the things they could put in.
That's right. When we have to rely on other countries to provide our food supply, we really are in jeopardizing our future.
I agree with that. So can we move to property taxes now? Because that's a big one.
You bet.
People are tired of paying property taxes, but it's part of life. Property taxes are a real kitchen table issue for just about every Texan. So what kind of progress has the legislature made on meaningful property tax relief?
Great question, Vanessa. I'm glad you asked. I'm going to give you an abbreviated answer to what I could make a long answer. But I would say, as I said earlier, the top two issues I hear about on the campaign trail and in my district are water and property taxes. Not necessarily in that order. Matter of fact, usually property taxes is number one. So I'm really proud of what the legislature has done. Really, I would say I'm going to give credit where credit is due with the leadership of Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and, pushing for property tax reduction. Of course, we'd all love to eliminate property taxes, but in the meantime, let's look at reducing property taxes. Over the last 3 sessions, so that would go back to 2019, right? 2019 session. We have passed the largest property tax cut in the history of America, not just the state of Texas, to the tune of in this year's budget, we have $51 billion in our property tax relief fund. So, in layman's terms, what that is for every $5 we spend in our state budget, over $1 of that now, one out of every $5 is going into property tax relief. And what that looks like is when you look at your property tax bill every year, you see the line, which is the largest sum that you'll see, which is on your local school district maintenance and operation tax.
The M&O.
M&O. And if people have noticed, over the last 5 years, the legislature has forced that line to compress. Okay, so that's primarily, there's 2 ways the state can help with property taxes. That's one. The other area, and I want to thank everybody that just voted earlier this week in the constitutional amendment election, the other area that the state can help with is allowing voters to increase our homestead exemption. Since I have started in the House, we've increased that as of Tuesday, a little over 250% increase in our homestead exemption.
That's huge.
It used to be $25,000. Now, if you're 65 and under, after Tuesday, it's at $140,000. And if you're 65 and older or disabled, it's $200,000. So that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Huge. Now, here's what I would tell you, Vanessa. As proud as I am of supporting every property tax relief bill I've had the opportunity to vote for, 2 things. One, we have more work to do. It's still the number one issue. And secondly, what I believe is that while we have done a good job compressing school district taxes, the one area that we really need to focus on, we the state of Texas through our legislators, is appraisal reform. Because I hear from every constituent.
Because they say they raise up the value of the property.
Trent, that's great. You're cutting my property taxes over here, but my local appraisal district
Valuations go up.
are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And so the legislature has got to do a better job of reining in our rising appraisal values, recognizing that the system we have in place, Austin is partly to blame. We have an appraisal system that's over 40 years old where it says the controller's office in Austin assigns a valuation to every local school district. And if your local appraisal district, their number is not within 5% of what the state of Texas through the controller's office says, then guess what?
The local appraisal district gets in trouble.
They get in trouble by withholding money from your local school district.
Right.
So we're going to penalize the kids for a broken system,
Yeah.
which they have no say in. So this entire system on our appraisals needs to be reformed, and it's a top priority for me in this campaign.
Yeah, because the chief appraisers live in the communities too, and they don't want to. They don't want to be the most hated person for raising
That's right.
valuations. So,
Yeah,
I'm friends with the one in Liberty County.
Well, and the irony
she
is,
can't do much about
a lot of my chief appraisers tell me the same thing. Like Trent,
Yeah.
I'm with you on this. Please allow local control over local valuations
Yeah.
and get the controller's office out of this.
Yeah. Well, so for rural communities that rely on property taxes, how's the state keep making up the difference? If they're going to give us relief, how are they making up the difference? Where's the money coming from?
Sales
now?
tax, primarily sales tax.
Okay.
So the state budget, again on property taxes, there's no line for the state of Texas on your property tax bill.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. No.
So what we do as a state and how we fund our public school system, our school finance formula, as well as our operation of our state budget, over 65% of that funding comes from sales tax collections.
Okay.
And as most people know, we've gone over a decade now. It seems like every year we're hitting a new record for sales tax collection.
As long as it doesn't go up too much.
As long as it doesn't go up too much,
Yeah.
right? So
8%'s enough.
yeah. Well, but that is a part of the discussion that's being had.
Yeah.
Is there an appetite to look at raising the sales tax another penny or two?
Oof, no.
If it was 100% dedicated to reducing property taxes. And what's interesting is that I can talk to a husband and a wife, and I'll have a husband that'll say absolutely do it, a wife will say absolutely do not. So even within the Republican
She's probably doing the shopping.
She's probably doing the shopping. So even within the Republican majority, there's not a consensus here on raising the sales
A
tax.
half penny I could see.
Yeah.
A full penny? 2 pennies? No.
Yeah.
I would not be.
There's been a lot of pushback on
Yeah.
that, which is why the legislature has not voted to do so.
Yeah. Well, and they're over for now, so we'll have to revisit it in a couple of years.
January
right?
2027.
Yeah. So let's talk about public education.
Okay.
You serve on the House Committee on Public Education. You chair a subcommittee on academic and career-oriented programs. What is your top priority when it comes to improving educational opportunities across the state?
Generally, my answer to that is I want to make sure every child, all 5.4 million children in our public school systems across the state, have access to a quality education. You should not be limited based on your zip code. And so a big part of providing that opportunity...
Vouchers.
A big part of providing that opportunity is, one, funding our public school system. Two, empowering parents. And you mentioned vouchers, of course, this past session. We passed the Education Savings Account bill, which we put $1 billion into that new program so that parents could make a decision, so that parents could make a decision on what is the best education platform for their child. Now, I would tell you, in most of rural Texas, your public schools have nothing to worry about because there is no private school option. And the way the final bill was written, there's a prohibition on any private school operator from coming in and even being able to apply to participate in the ESA program until they've been in existence physically for a minimum of 2 years.
Okay.
So the fears that a lot of rural Texas had, they were addressed in the bill, in the final bill.
Yeah, a lot of people were concerned it was going to damage school districts.
Absolutely.
Especially rural school districts.
You bet.
But,
Well, I shared those concerns.
Yeah.
You
have a lot of rural school districts in your area.
That's all I have is
Yeah.
rural school districts. And so in the end, though, we ended up with a bill I thought that struck the right balance between protecting our rural schools as well as making sure that we have a program that allows parents that choose to move to a private school, if that option is available, to do so.
Okay.
So yeah, education will always be a top priority for me. And I will say real quickly on the education front, Vanessa, I can't leave this topic without mentioning, I mentioned quality education, funding education, but probably the biggest problem that we face right now is recruiting and retaining teachers.
Yes.
And so everybody should, thank a teacher. One of the things I commonly hear,
he talks with his hands, doesn't he?
I do. One of the things I commonly hear is that from my teachers is that I just don't feel appreciated. And so that's something everyone can help with.
I'm the mother of a teacher.
Well, so I'm a son.
She loves it.
I'm a son of a teacher. 2 of my sisters are teachers. My grandmother was a kindergarten teacher, so I come from a background of educators. And we did a lot this session for our teachers, providing them in our rural school districts with $8,000 pay raise or a $4,000 pay raise, depending on their.
And that's huge.
That's huge, but we still need to do more to help our teachers.
No, I think it's great that you're trying.
Absolutely.
So, as a former school board president, you've seen firsthand how local decisions impact students. What lessons from that experience still guide your policy approach today?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I ran for the Texas House was because I didn't necessarily like Austin, Texas, telling our local community how we needed to operate or what we need to do, or even worse.
Like unfunded state mandates?
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Or passing a state law
and not giving you
mandating
money.
we do something and not giving us a penny.
Yeah, I
which
remember
means
some of those.
Which means that we might have to raise the local tax rate just to pay for what Austin, Texas is mandating us to do, but didn't want to give us
special
the funding.
bathrooms was one of them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things still is one of the things that I reflect on is trying to be transparent with people, because Texans know if it's costing them more, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think Austin, just like we in Austin hate it when Washington, D.C. passes federal laws that
impact us. Yeah.
Local governments don't like that either. And so we've got to be judicious about when we're mandating more control over local governments, because your local elected officials are the closest people to the voters.
They get elected. Yeah.
And the same people that elect them elect me. And so I've never lost sight of that.
That's good. So how can Texas better connect education with workforce needs? Because we have a lot of kids that are coming out of school and they're not quite ready for careers. So what can we do to improve that for these kids?
Well, I'm proud of what Texas has done really over the last 6 to 8 years. We really are, I believe now,
better
leading the country in terms of what we've done with concurrent enrollment, dual enrollment with kids in high school. They're also enrolled in college courses in your local community colleges or your four-year institutions. Lamar, SFA, Sam Houston, they are very much involved in this arena. The other thing that I would suggest is I'm really proud of my subcommittee this session. One of our biggest bills, House Bill 20, was expanding our career and technical education program in our school system. And you know this, everybody knows this. There are kids that graduate from high school that want to go to college, but there are more kids that graduate from high school that just want to get out in the workforce and be a contributor. Get a job. And so we as a state need to make sure
not everybody's meant for college.
That's right. Absolutely. And there was a mindset 15, 20 years ago where let's try to make every kid college ready. That has completely shifted to let's meet the kids where they are now in school.
With people with degrees that they don't even want to use.
And what I love, and I saw this in May of this year when I went to a high school graduation to speak. There was a local community college, in this case it was Angelina College, that was handing out certificates at the high school graduation, so that literally when that kid was getting their high school diploma, they were also getting their welding certificate.
That's good paying jobs.
Oh, great paying jobs.
Yeah.
And so the
cosmetology, things like that, they have a career they can go to.
The last thing I'm going to say, because I really am proud of what the state has done in the last few years on this, is to your point, the other thing is we are encouraging schools to work with those within the school system and with their institutions of higher education to focus on areas for jobs that are in demand in that local county and that local region. Because the same jobs that might be available in Liberty County that are very prominent or prevalent here they might be different than, say, ones in Lufkin, Texas, where, there's a Lockheed Martin missile operation that is really wanting to hire kids with a certain focus. And so we just need to allow our young people to have that opportunity to focus on a skill set that is relevant to what they want to do if they want to stay in their local or regional area.
So for one more question, would you like transportation or border security? Which one do you want?
Border security.
Border security. So that continues to dominate the headlines in Texas, even though East Texas isn't a border region. How do you see illegal immigration affecting your constituents?
Border security for the last few years has been the number one or two issue in my House district. I think people understand that what happens on the border doesn't stay on the border. It moves right up through Liberty County, Southeast, East Texas, into other states in the country. And so I've been really proud of what we've done over the last 8 years in terms of
Sorry, sneezed.
Bless you.
Allergy season.
It is. I've got Zyrtec in the pickup. I've been really proud of what we've done in terms of voting to secure the border with Mexico. And these are state resources, right? And so since I've been there, I have voted to spend over $11 billion to secure the border with Mexico. And we've seen a drastic reduction in terms of human smuggling, in terms of illegal immigration, in terms of fentanyl. I mentioned human trafficking.
Yeah, a lot of us are worried about the drugs.
Well, and again, there's more work to be done.
The buoys have been affected.
Oh, absolutely. When that federal judge said that we had to remove no, and we never did in the state of Texas. And I was really proud of Governor Abbott and Operation Lone Star standing up to that. But what I would tell you what's changed in the last year is that we finally have a partner in the White House in Donald Trump that is now working with the state of Texas to provide federal resources, both manpower and financial resources, to help us in this effort to secure the border. And that's why you've seen the largest decline in terms of illegal immigration that we've seen in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Well, so looking ahead to the next legislative session, if you are elected, what are your top priorities?
Property taxes is always going to be one of my top priorities in terms of providing that additional property tax relief that people are begging for. Focused on appraisal reform, water that we've touched on. I believe that could be the biggest fight next session for our region of the state, is making sure that we have a state senator that's going to fight tooth and nail to protect our natural resources and our water supply.
And transportation.
Absolutely.
That's a big one.
I tell you what,
you
look across Liberty County, there's a lot of projects going on, and Liberty County is exploding. It is growing so fast. But we've got to make sure that our regional delegation in the House, and of course our state senator that represents this Senate district, that they're working together to make sure that we are bringing home the construction dollars to help on the transportation front that we deserve. And so my job is to, I think the biggest asset that I have in this campaign, Vanessa, is that I have a proven track record of delivering conservative results.
People can look at your voting record.
People can look at my voting record. They can look at the different, recognitions for being courageous conservative and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, the most important, I guess, point I could make is that I've been reelected overwhelmingly every time in truly one of the top 5 conservative House districts in the state of Texas. I'm proud of my record. I'm proud of pushing back on some of the radical, kind of the woke left agenda, voting to ban DEI, put prayer in the 10 Commandments back in our schools this session, protecting private property rights. I've always been endorsed by the National Rifle Association for standing up for our Second Amendment rights. So my track record is clear. It's one that I'm proud to stand on. But importantly, I think people want in their next state senator someone that can hit the ground running on day one, that knows all 150 House members, that knows all 31 senators, that has working relationship with all of our statewide elected officials, and knows the process of how to pass a bill. I've passed, well over 100 bills during my time in the Texas House. So that's why I'm running. I'm running to put my experience and my conservative track record to work for Southeast and East Texas.
So we end all of these with rapid fire questions
All right.
because they're fun. You just give me like a short, like one word, one sentence response. Okay, you ready? Favorite Aggie tradition? You were a yell leader, right? So
I'm going to say muster.
muster. Okay, I think that Jay Knight might say the same thing. Our county judge. The last book or show or TV show movie that made you laugh or made you think.
Oh gosh, I watched Waterboy last weekend.
Oh my gosh, it sounds like that my grandson's watch. Yeah. Is that the one where he says, I want to play football? Or
Yes.
Yeah. All my grandsons.
Football.
Yeah, football. Yeah. So one word your friends use to describe you, or they would use to describe you. Friends.
Energetic.
Energetic. That's a good one. What makes you most proud to call Texas home?
Our culture.
Okay, that's good. This is going to be a tricky one now.
Okay.
Bluebonnets or pine trees? What says home to you?
Pine trees.
That makes sense. Favorite Texas festival or small town event? That's very political in that one.
I love them all.
You love them all? Do you have one that you just look forward to every year? See, I love TVE. TVE's great.
I will just say my first ever event when I ran,
Yeah.
announced I was a candidate for the Texas House.
Yeah.
So this is 2011, almost however many years ago, was the Grapeland Peanut Festival.
A peanut festival. They still have it?
The Peanut Festival.
They still have it?
Oh, absolutely. I just went. They have it.
So that's
the
your favorite
second,
event?
It is a memorable event for me.
So what Texas last question. What Texas landmark should every Texan visit at least once?
Besides the Texas Capitol, San Jacinto Monument.
That's a good one. All right, that's it. So Representative Ashby, thank you for joining me today and for sharing your insights and your heart for East Texas. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Bluebonnet News Headlines and Heartlines. Be sure to share today's episode when it comes out on the podcast on Spotify. And it's also going to be aired on KILE FM radio in about 3 weeks. Join us next time as we keep diving into the stories that matter most to Texas, both the headlines and the heartlines. I'm Vanessa Brazier, and I'll see y'all next time.